It was a quiet evening in the small town of Willow Creek, nestled between rolling green hills and thick forests. The sky was painted orange and pink as the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a blanket of stars that twinkled faintly against the darkening canvas. People were busy with their usual routines, some cooking dinner, others watching TV, and a few stepping out for an evening stroll. Life seemed ordinary, predictable even, but little did anyone know. This night would mark the beginning of something extraordinary. At exactly 9:47 p.m., the first strange thing happened. A soft hum filled the air, barely noticeable at first. It sounded like distant thunder, but there were no clouds in sight. Then came a low vibration that made windows rattle, gently. Dogs started barking and birds took flight from their perches, sensing something unusual. Within moments, the entire town fell silent, as if everyone had collectively paused to listen. And then it began. The sky itself seemed to change. At first, it looked like heat waves rippling across asphalt on a hot summer day. But soon, those ripples grew stronger, distorting the stars into wavy lines. The hum intensified, growing louder and deeper until it felt like the ground beneath people's feet was trembling. Panic spread quickly as whispers turned into shouts. "What's happening?" Someone yelled outside a cafe. No one had an answer. Suddenly, the sky split open. Not literally, of course, but it sure felt that way. A jagged crack appeared right above the town, glowing with an eerie blue light. It widened slowly, revealing something beyond comprehension. Massive shapes emerged from the fissure, descending toward Earth with terrifying grace. These weren't airplanes or satellites. They were enormous ships unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Sleek, metallic, and bristling with alien technology, they loomed over the landscape like gods surveying their creation. Each ship was easily miles long, casting shadows so vast they blocked out the moonlight. The largest of these vessels hovered directly above Willow Creek, its surface reflecting the dim glow of streetlights below. Smaller crafts flanked it, moving, in perfect formation as though controlled by a single mind. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Everyone stared upward, mouths agape, hearts pounding with fear and awe. What were these things? Where had they come from? And most importantly, what did they want? As news of the event spread, panic erupted worldwide. Social media platforms lit up with videos and photos of the mysterious ships appearing not just over Willow Creek but also above major cities like New York, Tokyo, London, and Sydney. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing statements urging calm while secretly preparing military forces for potential conflict. Fighter jets scrambled into the skies, circling the alien vessels cautiously. Yet despite all this activity, the ships remained eerily silent. They didn't fire weapons, release probes, or attempt communication. They simply floated there, watching. Back in Willow Creek, chaos reigned. Families huddled together indoors, peeking through curtains as bright lights illuminated the streets. Emergency broadcasts blared warnings over radios and televisions, advising residents to stay indoors and avoid provoking the unknown visitors. Some people fled the town altogether, packing cars and heading for safer ground. Others stayed put, too stunned to move. Among them was a young woman named Emily Carter, who lived alone in a modest apartment near the edge of town. Emily wasn't your typical resident of Willow Creek. She worked as a librarian during the day and spent her nights studying astronomy as a hobby. Her tiny balcony housed a telescope she used to gaze at the stars whenever insomnia struck. Tonight, however, sleep was the last thing on her mind. Clutching a cup of tea in shaky hands, she stood by her window, staring at the monstrous ship, hovering above her neighborhood. Unlike many others, Emily wasn't entirely afraid. Sure, her heart raced and her palms were sweaty, but curiosity burned within her. Who were these beings? Why had they come now, and why here, of all places? Her thoughts were interrupted when her phone buzzed violently on the coffee table. It was her younger brother, Jake, calling from Chicago. His voice trembled as he asked, "Are you okay? Have you seen what's going on?" Emily nodded before realizing he couldn't see her. "I'm fine," she replied, trying to sound calmer than she felt. "But yeah, I've seen them. They're huge." Jake hesitated before speaking again. Do you think they're hostile? Should we be scared? Emily sighed, glancing back at the ship. Honestly, I don't know, but they haven't done anything yet. Maybe they're just observing us. Though she tried to reassure him, doubt lingered in her tone. After hanging up, she returned to the window, unable to look away. Hours passed, and still, the ships remained motionless. No lasers fired, no invasions launched. Just silence. By midnight, exhaustion began to set in for some residents while others stayed wide awake, glued to their screens or windows. Emily decided to step outside for fresh air, hoping it might clear her racing thoughts. Wrapping herself in a thick jacket, she ventured onto her balcony and gazed upward once more. That's when she noticed something odd. While the larger ships continued to hover silently, smaller craft detached themselves and descended closer to the ground. They moved gracefully, almost elegantly, scanning the area with beams of light that swept across rooftops and trees. One such probe drifted toward Emily's building, its surface shimmering like liquid metal under the dim glow of nearby lampposts. Her breath hitched as it stopped directly above her balcony. For a fleeting second, she considered retreating indoors, but curiosity rooted her to the spot. The probe emitted a soft whirring sound, rotating slowly as if examining its surroundings. Then, without warning, it projected a holographic image into the air, a swirling pattern of colors that shifted and danced like northern lights. Emily leaned forward, mesmerized. Was this some form of communication, or merely a test? Before she could ponder further, the image vanished and the probe ascended back toward the mothership. As dawn approached, the tension eased slightly, though uncertainty remained thick in the air. People exchanged theories online, speculating about the aliens' intentions. Were they explorers seeking knowledge, conquerors preparing for war, or perhaps refugees fleeing danger elsewhere in the galaxy? Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: Earth would never be the same again. For Emily, the experience left her with more questions than answers. As she finally crawled into bed, exhausted yet restless, her mind raced with possibilities. Little did she know? Her encounter with the probe was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about life, the universe, and humanity's place within it. The next morning, the world woke up to an eerie calm. The alien ships still hung in the sky like silent sentinels, their presence both awe-inspiring and unsettling. In Willow Creek, Emily Carter found herself unable to shake off the events of the previous night. She had barely slept, her mind replaying the moment when the probe hovered near her balcony and projected that strange, swirling hologram. What did it mean? Was it a warning? A greeting? Or something else entirely? As sunlight filtered through her curtains, Emily decided she couldn't just sit around waiting for answers. She needed to do something, anything, to make sense of what was happening. After grabbing a quick breakfast, she pulled out her laptop and opened several tabs: astronomy forums, live news updates, and even conspiracy theory websites. People were buzzing with theories, some logical, others absurd. Some claimed the aliens were here to harvest humans for food, while others insisted they were benevolent beings offering salvation. Emily rolled her eyes at the more outlandish ideas but kept scrolling anyway. Somewhere amidst the chaos there might be a clue. Her search led her to a video uploaded by a user in New York City. It showed one of the smaller alien probes scanning a crowded street. Unlike the cautious reactions in Willow Creek, people in the video seemed emboldened, or maybe desperate. Dozens of them surrounded the probe, shouting questions and waving signs written in various languages. One man held up a cardboard sign that read, "We come in peace." Another woman waved a white flag, tears streaming down her face. The probe didn't respond, merely continuing its methodical scan before ascending back into the sky. Emily paused the video, her heart racing. Something about the scene felt significant, though she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Maybe it was the raw emotion displayed by the crowd, the mix of fear, hope, and defiance. Or maybe it was the fact that the probe hadn't attacked despite being swarmed. Whatever it was, it gave her an idea. If the aliens weren't responding to Official channels. Perhaps they would react to direct human interaction, but how could she possibly communicate with them? Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Startled, she glanced at the clock. It was only 7:30 a.m. Who could be visiting so early? Cautiously, she approached the door and peeked through the peephole. Standing outside was Dr. Mark Ellis, a retired astrophysicist who lived 2 blocks away. He often visited the library where Emily worked, borrowing books on space exploration and extraterrestrial life. Though he was in his late 60s, his sharp mind and endless curiosity made him a favorite among the staff. Dr. Ellis? Emily opened the door, surprised to see him. What are you doing here? Mark smiled faintly, holding up a folder stuffed with papers. I assume you've been following the developments, he said, gesturing vaguely toward the sky. When Emily nodded, he continued, Well, I think we may have stumbled onto something important. Mind if I come in? Once inside, Mark wasted no time explaining his theory. Over the past few hours, he had analyzed footage of the alien ships and noticed patterns in their behavior. They're not random, he said, spreading printouts across Emily's coffee table. Look at this map. He pointed to clusters of locations where the smaller probes had descended. Every single one is near a site of historical significance, a monument, a battlefield, a place tied to humanity's achievements or struggles. Emily leaned closer, studying the map. Sure enough, the dots lined up perfectly with landmarks, like the pyramids of Giza, the Great Wall of China, and even Auschwitz. Even Willow Creek, though small and unremarkable, wasn't far from the site of a Civil War skirmish. So, you're saying they're studying us? She asked. Exactly, Mark replied. But not just our technology or resources. They're interested in our history, our culture, our very essence as a species. And that means they're intelligent, rational, possibly even scared. Scared? Emily raised an eyebrow. Why would they be scared of us? That's the million-dollar question, Mark admitted. But think about it. They've arrived without firing a shot, without making demands. Instead, they're observing, gathering data. That suggests caution, doesn't it? Like they're trying to understand us before deciding what to do next. Emily mulled over his words, her mind racing. If the aliens were indeed afraid, then humanity had a chance to prove itself, to show them that we weren't monsters. But how? Short of building a giant neon sign that said, "We're friendly," she couldn't think of a way to convey such a message. Mark must have sensed her frustration because he tapped the folder confidently. That's where this comes in, he said. Inside were sketches, notes, and calculations detailing a plan to send a signal, not of aggression, but of unity. Using radio waves and visual cues, they could create a message showcasing humanity's best qualities: art, music, science, compassion. It wouldn't be easy, and it certainly wouldn't guarantee success, but it was worth a try. Inspired by Mark's enthusiasm, Emily agreed to help. Together, they spent the rest of the day reaching out to local experts, engineers, artists, musicians, anyone who could contribute to their project. By evening, they had assembled a small team of volunteers, all eager to play a part in this unprecedented effort. One member, a graphic designer named Sarah, suggested creating a visual narrative using images and symbols that transcended language barriers. Another, a musician named Leo, proposed incorporating melodies from different cultures to highlight humanity's diversity. As the group worked tirelessly, news of their initiative spread throughout Willow Creek. At first, skeptics dismissed it as a waste of time, arguing that the aliens wouldn't care about human creativity. But as word reached neighboring towns, more people joined in, sending videos, drawings, and recordings to add to the growing archive. Social media played a crucial role, amplifying their efforts on a global scale. Within hours, contributions poured in from every corner of the planet. Children singing traditional songs, scientists sharing groundbreaking discoveries, activists advocating for peace and equality. By midnight, the team had compiled enough material to construct their message. Using borrowed equipment and makeshift tools, they transmitted the signal into the sky, aiming it directly at the largest alien ship above Willow Creek. The transmission included everything: paintings of sunsets, equations explaining quantum mechanics, footage of protesters marching for justice, and even clips of laughter echoing through crowded markets. It was messy, chaotic, and beautiful, a true reflection of humanity in all its complexity. For a tense hour, nothing happened. The ship remained stationary, its surface gleaming under the moonlight. Just as doubt began to creep in, a sudden burst of light erupted from the vessel, bathing the town in a warm golden glow. Gasps rippled through the crowd gathered below, watching in awe as the light resolved into shapes, images projected onto the clouds above. They depicted scenes reminiscent of Earth's history: ancient civilizations building pyramids, astronauts landing on the moon, families celebrating festivals together. Then came new images, unfamiliar yet breathtaking: alien worlds teeming with life, cities floating among stars, creatures unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The final image was the most striking: a simple handshake between two figures, one humanoid, the other distinctly alien. Below it appeared a single phrase glowing in countless languages: "We hear you." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she realized what had happened. Against all odds, their message had been received and understood. For the first time, since the ships arrived, hope replaced fear. The aliens weren't enemies, they were explorers just like humanity. And now, thanks to the collective effort of ordinary people, a bridge had been built between two vastly different species. As dawn broke over Willow Creek, the alien ships began to move. Not in retreat, but in formation, aligning themselves protectively around Earth. Emily stood on her balcony, gazing upward with a mixture of relief and wonder. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain: humanity had taken its first step toward becoming something greater. The days following the alien response to humanity's message were a whirlwind of emotions: hope, confusion, and cautious optimism. In Willow Creek, Emily Carter and her team became local heroes overnight. Their makeshift signal had not only reached the aliens but also sparked a global movement. People around the world began organizing similar projects, creating art, music, and messages to send into the skies. It was as if humanity had collectively decided that this was their moment to shine, to show the universe who they truly were. But while the initial success brought relief, it also raised countless questions. What did the aliens want? Why had they come now? And what did their protective formation mean? These uncertainties weighed heavily on everyone's minds, especially Emily's. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, that the aliens' actions hinted at something deeper, something they weren't ready to reveal yet. Dr. Mark Ellis shared her concerns. "They're holding back," he said one evening as they sat in Emily's apartment, poring over new data collected from satellite readings. "Their behavior suggests caution, almost like they're waiting for us to make another move." He tapped a graph showing energy fluctuations near the alien ships. "Look at this. Every time we transmit a signal or gather in large groups, their activity spikes. They're watching us closely." Emily frowned, leaning back in her chair. "You think they're testing us?" "It's possible," Mark replied. "Think about it. They've seen our history, the good and the bad. Wars, technological advancements, environmental destruction, acts of kindness. Maybe they're trying to figure out which side of humanity will prevail." His words sent a chill down Emily's spine. Humanity's track record wasn't exactly flawless. For every inspiring act of compassion, there was an equally devastating example of cruelty. The aliens had witnessed all of it through their scans and observations. If they were indeed evaluating humanity, then the stakes were higher than anyone realized. Meanwhile, governments worldwide struggled to keep up with the rapidly evolving situation. Emergency summits were held, bringing together leaders from every continent to discuss how to proceed. Military forces remained on high alert, though no hostile action had been taken by the aliens. Instead, the ships continued their silent vigil, occasionally deploying smaller probes to scan specific areas. Each probe returned to its mothership after completing its task, leaving behind no trace of interference. One such probe descended into a remote desert in Australia, landing near an ancient Aboriginal site known for its intricate rock carvings. Elders from the local community approached cautiously, singing traditional songs passed down through generations. When the probe projected a holographic image resembling the Milky Way galaxy, the elders responded by drawing symbols in the sand, representing stars and constellations significant to their culture. The probe lingered for several minutes before ascending again, seemingly satisfied. Similar encounters occurred across the globe. In India, villagers performed classical dances beneath hovering probes, their movements telling stories of creation and unity. In Brazil, indigenous tribes played rhythmic drums and chanted prayers to the spirits of the forest. Everywhere the aliens went, humans responded with expressions of their heritage, creativity, and resilience. These interactions fueled speculation about the aliens' motives. Were they cataloging humanity's diversity? Learning about our values and beliefs? Or perhaps searching for something specific, a clue to why Earth mattered so much to them? Back in Willow Creek, Emily and Mark grew increasingly curious about the aliens' origins. They spent hours analyzing patterns in the ship's movements, trying to decipher any hidden meaning. One night, while reviewing footage of the alien transmission, Emily noticed something she hadn't seen before. Embedded within the glowing images of alien worlds and creatures was a faint symbol, a circular pattern with lines radiating outward, resembling a sunburst. "Mark, look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "Do you see it?" He squinted, adjusting his glasses. Yes, I do. It looks familiar." After some digging, they discovered that the symbol matched ancient carvings found in multiple civilizations around the world, from Egyptian hieroglyphs to Mayan temples to Native American petroglyphs. The same design appeared repeatedly throughout history, often associated with celestial beings or divine messengers. "This can't be a coincidence," Emily murmured. "They've been here before." Mark nodded slowly. "It makes sense. If they visited Earth in the past, maybe they left records or warnings for future generations. That could explain why they seem so cautious now." Determined to uncover more, Emily and Mark reached out to historians and archaeologists, sharing their findings and asking for insights. One expert, Dr. Rachel Kim, specialized in ancient astronaut theories and agreed to help. Together they pieced together fragments of evidence suggesting that humanity had encountered extraterrestrial visitors centuries ago. Legends of gods descending from the heavens, descriptions of flying chariots, and depictions of otherworldly beings all pointed to the possibility of contact. Some texts even mentioned gifts of knowledge bestowed upon early humans, advancements in agriculture, astronomy, and architecture that seemed too advanced for their time. But alongside these accounts were darker tales. Stories of destruction, plagues, and wars waged using mysterious weapons described as fire from the sky. According to Dr. Kim, these narratives hinted at a dual nature to humanity's relationship with the aliens. On one hand, they brought enlightenment. On the other, devastation. "If the aliens are aware of these stories," Emily said during a late-night brainstorming session, "then maybe they're worried about repeating history, about us becoming too powerful or too dangerous." Mark rubbed his temples deep in thought. "Or maybe they're afraid of us, not just what we might do, but what we represent. A species capable of both incredible beauty and unimaginable horror." The realization hit Emily like a punch to the gut. All this time, she had assumed the aliens were superior beings judging humanity from above. But what if they saw themselves reflected in us? What if they recognized the same potential for greatness and destruction within their own kind? As the days turned into weeks, the aliens' behavior shifted subtly. While they still maintained their protective formation around Earth, they began transmitting signals of their own. Unlike the earlier holograms, these were complex streams of data encoded in frequencies beyond human comprehension. Scientists worked tirelessly to decode them, eventually managing to translate fragments of information. What they discovered shocked the world. The transmissions contained detailed maps of star systems, blueprints for advanced technologies, and instructions for sustainable energy sources. It was as if the aliens were offering humanity a gift, a chance to leap forward in evolution without repeating the mistakes of the past. But mixed in with the knowledge were warnings, descriptions of planets ravaged by war, ecosystems destroyed by greed, and civilizations wiped out by their own hubris. The message was clear. Humanity stood at a crossroads. The aliens weren't here to conquer or destroy. They were here to guide. Whether Earth chose to follow their path depended entirely on its people. News of the transmission spread like wildfire, sparking debates across the globe. Some hailed the aliens as saviors, embracing their teachings as a roadmap to a brighter future. Others viewed them with suspicion, fearing that accepting their help would strip humanity of its independence. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds chanting slogans ranging from "Trust the stars" to "Stay human." Amidst the chaos, Emily felt torn. Part of her wanted to believe in the aliens' goodwill, to trust that their intentions were pure, but another part of her couldn't ignore the lingering questions. Why had they waited until now to intervene? What did they stand to gain, or lose, by helping humanity? Her doubts deepened when she received an unexpected visit from a stranger. Late one evening, as she prepared to leave her apartment, a man in a dark suit knocked on her door. He introduced himself as Agent Carter, no relation, and claimed to work for a classified government agency monitoring the alien situation. "We know about your involvement in the Signal project," he said bluntly, "and we need your help." Emily hesitated, unsure whether to let him in. Something about his demeanor set off alarm bells. Still, curiosity got the better of her. "What kind of help?" she asked. Agent Carter glanced around nervously before speaking. "We've intercepted communications suggesting that not all the aliens share the same goals. There's disagreement among them. Some factions believe Earth should be preserved. Others, well, let's just say they have different plans." A cold knot formed in Emily's stomach. "Are you saying they might turn on us?" "I'm saying we don't know what they'll do next," he replied grimly. "And if things go south, we'll need people like you, people who understand them, to negotiate." Though shaken, Emily agreed to cooperate. She knew she couldn't face this alone. Whatever happened next, humanity's fate rested on the choices made in the coming days. And as she stared up at the alien ships glowing softly against the night sky, she couldn't help but wonder, would they save Earth or doom it? The revelation that the aliens were divided among themselves sent shockwaves through Emily Carter's mind. It was one thing to imagine them as a unified force, cautious but benevolent, guiding humanity toward a brighter future. But the idea of factions, some supportive, others potentially hostile, added a layer of complexity that terrified her. If Agent Carter's intel was correct, then Earth wasn't just being evaluated, it was caught in a cosmic tug-of-war between opposing ideologies. Over the next few days, Emily found herself working closely with Agent Carter and his team. They operated out of a nondescript government facility on the outskirts of Willow Creek, hidden behind thick walls and guarded by armed personnel. Inside, scientists and analysts worked around the clock, decoding alien transmissions and monitoring ship movements. The atmosphere was tense, charged with urgency, as everyone braced for what might come next. Emily quickly realized that she had a unique role to play. Her first-hand experience with the alien probe and her involvement in crafting the initial message made her an invaluable asset. She spent hours poring over data, trying to identify patterns or anomalies that could shed light on the aliens' internal conflict. Meanwhile, Mark Ellis joined her efforts remotely, providing insights based on his decades of expertise in astrophysics. One evening, while reviewing satellite footage of the alien fleet, Emily noticed something unusual. Several smaller ships had detached from the main formation and were moving away from Earth at high speed. Their trajectory suggested they weren't heading toward any known celestial bodies, which raised red flags. Was this a retreat? Or were they preparing for something else? Agent Carter arrived moments later, holding a tablet displaying fresh intelligence reports. "We've intercepted more signals," he said grimly. Some of the aliens are discussing intervention. Intervention? Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly. What kind of intervention? They haven't specified yet, he admitted. But given their earlier warnings about humanity's destructive tendencies, it's possible they're considering drastic measures. Drastic measures. The phrase echoed in Emily's mind, conjuring images of obliteration. The same fate suffered by other civilizations according to ancient texts. Could the aliens really be contemplating wiping out humanity to prevent further harm? The thought made her sick to her stomach. As word of the potential threat spread, panic gripped the world. Social media erupted with rumors of impending doom, while conspiracy theorists claimed the government was hiding critical information. Protests intensified, with some groups demanding immediate action against the aliens, while others pleaded for peace. Leaders scrambled to maintain order, issuing statements urging calm even as military forces prepared for the worst-case scenario. In the midst of the chaos, Emily and Mark devised a bold plan. If the aliens were truly debating humanity's fate, then perhaps they needed another reminder of its worth. This time, instead of sending static messages, they proposed creating a live broadcast, a global event showcasing humanity's diversity, resilience, and capacity for compassion. We need to show them we're capable of change, Emily argued during a meeting with Agent Carter and his team. Not just talk about it, but prove it. At first, the idea met resistance. Some officials feared it would expose vulnerabilities, giving hostile factions ammunition to justify their stance. But Emily persisted, pointing out that secrecy hadn't worked so far. They already know our flaws, she said firmly. What they don't see is how hard we're trying to overcome them. Eventually, her persistence paid off. With approval secured, Emily and Mark coordinated with international organizations, artists, activists, and everyday citizens to create a spectacle unlike anything the world had ever seen. Cities dimmed their lights to reduce interference, while stadiums, parks, and landmarks became stages for performances celebrating unity and hope. On the night of the broadcast, millions tuned in. Not just humans, but presumably the aliens as, well, giant screens displayed images of volunteers planting trees, doctors treating patients, teachers educating children. Musicians played harmonies blending traditional instruments from different cultures, while poets recited verses about love, loss, and redemption. In one particularly moving segment, survivors of war and natural disasters shared stories of rebuilding their lives, emphasizing the strength found in community. Throughout the event, drones equipped with powerful transmitters beamed the footage into space, ensuring the aliens couldn't miss it. For 3 hours, humanity poured its heart into the performance, leaving nothing unsaid. When the final note faded and the last image disappeared, silence fell, not just in the audience but across the globe. For a tense moment, no one knew whether the aliens had received the message or cared. Then, without warning, the largest alien ship above Willow Creek emitted a pulse of light so bright it illuminated the entire hemisphere. People shielded their eyes, gasping in awe as the light resolved into a holographic projection spanning miles. It depicted 2 figures standing side by side, one humanoid, representing humanity, and the other, distinctly alien, taller and more angular with luminous eyes and elongated limbs. Between them floated a glowing sphere pulsating rhythmically like a heartbeat. Words appeared beneath the image, written in countless languages. Your effort is acknowledged. Cheers erupted worldwide as people realized the significance of the gesture. The aliens hadn't dismissed humanity. They had listened. More importantly, they seemed willing to give Earth another chance. Despite the apparent success, Emily remained uneasy. While the broadcast had bought humanity some goodwill, it didn't resolve the underlying tension within the alien ranks. She suspected the faction advocating for intervention still posed a threat, and she couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Her suspicions were confirmed when Agent Carter approached her the following morning with troubling news. We've detected unusual activity near the edge of the solar system, he said, showing her a map marked with blinking red dots. Those ships that left Earth? They're amassing reinforcements. Emily's blood ran cold. Are they planning to attack? We don't know, he admitted. But it doesn't look good. Determined to prevent disaster, Emily turned to Mark for advice. Together, they analyzed every piece of data they had, searching for clues about the aliens' intentions. One detail stood out: the recurring symbol embedded in their transmissions, the sunburst pattern resembling ancient carvings. Both agreed it held deeper meaning, possibly serving as a key to understanding their culture and values. With no time to waste, Emily and Mark reached out to Dr. Rachel Kim, the archaeologist who had helped them decode historical references earlier. Using her knowledge of ancient symbols, Rachel suggested focusing on sites associated with the design. If the aliens recognize these places as sacred, she explained, then interacting with them directly might send a stronger message. Inspired by her insight, Emily proposed visiting one such site herself, an ancient temple in Peru adorned with intricate carvings matching the alien symbol. With Agent Carter's reluctant approval, she boarded a plane accompanied by a small team, including Mark and a documentary crew tasked with recording the mission. Upon arriving at the temple, Emily felt a strange sense of reverence. The air seemed charged with energy, almost electric. As the team set up equipment to transmit a signal incorporating the symbol, Emily stepped closer to the carvings, tracing their lines with her fingers. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet vibrated softly, followed by a low hum resonating through the stone walls. A beam of light shot upward from the center of the temple, connecting with one of the alien ships hovering nearby. Moments later, a probe descended, hovering silently before projecting a hologram of the same sunburst pattern. This time, however, words accompanied the image. "You honor your past, we will honor your future." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she realized the impact of their actions. By acknowledging the connection between their histories, humanity had forged a bond with the aliens, one strong enough to sway even the most skeptical factions. Back at the facility, Agent Carter watched the footage with a mixture of relief and admiration. "You did it," he said quietly. "You gave them a reason to trust us." But Emily shook her head. "No," she replied. "We gave ourselves a reason to believe in each other." As dawn broke over the Andes Mountains, illuminating the temple in golden light, Emily felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity's journey was far from over, but for the first time, she believed they might actually make it. The days following Emily Carter's visit to the ancient temple in Peru marked a turning point, not just for humanity, but for the aliens watching from above. The message sent through the sunburst symbol resonated deeply with the extraterrestrial fleet. For the first time since their arrival, the alien ships began moving in unison, forming intricate patterns across the sky that resembled constellations. These formations pulsed with light, almost like they were celebrating or perhaps acknowledging the bond forged between two vastly different species. In Willow Creek, Emily and her team watched the spectacle unfold with bated breath. The probe that had descended at the temple had relayed new data, which scientists around the world worked tirelessly to decode. Slowly, fragments of communication pieced together revealed something extraordinary. The aliens weren't just observing humanity. They were learning from it. And now, after witnessing Earth's efforts to unite and honor its shared history, they were ready to share more of themselves. Over the next week, transmissions from the alien fleet became increasingly detailed. They included not just maps and blueprints, but also personal accounts, stories of their own struggles, triumphs, and failures as a civilization. Through these narratives, humanity learned that the aliens called themselves the Luminary, beings who had once faced extinction due to their inability to coexist peacefully. Their journey toward unity had been long and arduous, filled with sacrifices and lessons hard-earned. It was clear why they viewed Earth with such caution. They saw echoes of their past selves in humanity's actions. But there was hope, too. The Luminary believed that every species had the potential to evolve beyond its flaws, if given the right guidance. By sharing their knowledge, they hoped to spare humanity the same pain they had endured. Yet, Even as this revelation brought relief, it underscored the gravity of the situation. Humanity's survival depended not on blind compliance, but on active participation in shaping its own destiny. While governments debated how best to integrate the luminaries' teachings into global policies, ordinary people took matters into their own hands. Inspired by the broadcast event and the discoveries made at the temple, communities worldwide embraced change on an unprecedented scale. In cities, grassroots movements sprang up to address environmental issues, promote equality, and foster creativity. Villages adopted sustainable farming techniques outlined in the alien blueprints, while schools incorporated lessons from the luminaries' history into their curriculums. Emily found herself at the center of this transformation. News outlets hailed her as a bridge between worlds, someone who understood both human and alien perspectives. Requests poured in for interviews, speeches, and collaborations, all of which she accepted reluctantly. Though she never sought fame, she recognized the importance of using her platform to inspire others. With Mark Ellis by her side, she traveled extensively, speaking at conferences and meeting leaders eager to implement the luminaries' ideas. One of her most memorable trips was to Africa, where local tribes welcomed her warmly. Sitting beneath a starlit sky, elders shared stories passed down through generations about celestial visitors who had guided their ancestors. When Emily showed them images of the luminaries' ships and symbols, their eyes widened in recognition. "These are the ones," one elder whispered, pointing to the glowing holograms projected onto a nearby rock face. "They came before when we needed help." This encounter reinforced Emily's belief that the connection between humans and the luminary ran deeper than anyone had imagined. Ancient myths weren't mere legends. They were fragmented memories of past encounters, preserved through oral traditions and carvings. And now, those distant memories had come full circle, uniting two civilizations across millennia. Despite the progress, tensions lingered among the luminari themselves. While many supported their mission to guide humanity, others remained skeptical. Reports indicated that the faction advocating intervention still gathered forces near the edge of the solar system, unwilling to trust Earth's ability to adapt. Agent Carter kept Emily informed of these developments, warning her that peace wasn't guaranteed. Determined to prevent conflict, Emily proposed another bold initiative, a summit held aboard one of the luminaries' ships. She envisioned representatives from every nation, culture, and walk of life coming together to engage directly with the aliens. It would be a demonstration of humanity's commitment to collaboration, a chance to prove that differences could be bridged through dialogue. The idea initially faced resistance. Many feared stepping onto an alien vessel, uncertain of what awaited them. But Emily persisted, arguing that fear couldn't dictate humanity's future. "If we don't take this step," she said during a televised address, "we'll always wonder what could have been. This isn't just about us, it's about showing the luminari that we're willing to meet them halfway." Her words struck a chord. Within weeks, delegations from over 200 countries prepared for the historic journey. Engineers designed transport pods capable of ferrying humans safely to the mothership, while medical teams ensured participants were physically and mentally prepared. On the day of departure, millions gathered to watch as the first group ascended into the sky, their faces illuminated by the glow of the massive ship awaiting them. Aboard the luminary vessel, Emily felt a mix of awe and trepidation. The interior was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Smooth metallic surfaces that shifted colors like liquid, corridors lined with floating orbs emitting soft light. Alien figures moved gracefully among the humans, their elongated limbs and luminous eyes, exuding calm authority. Despite their otherworldly appearance, they radiated warmth, inviting Earth's representatives to explore and ask questions. The summit unfolded over several days, blending formal presentations with informal discussions. Human delegates shared their cultures through music, dance, and storytelling, while the luminary responded with holographic displays showcasing their art, technology, and philosophy. At one point, Emily stood alongside a luminary leader named Aelith, whose voice resonated telepathically within her mind. "You have shown great courage," Aelith said. Not all species are willing to confront their flaws so openly. Emily smiled faintly. We're trying. But we know there's still much work to do. Aelith nodded. Then let us continue this journey together. Your path is your own to choose, but we will stand beside you as allies. By the end of the summit, agreements had been reached on numerous fronts. Joint research initiatives would focus on renewable energy, space exploration, and medical advancements. Cultural exchange programs promised to deepen mutual understanding, ensuring that neither side forgot the lessons learned during this pivotal chapter. As the delegations returned to Earth, news of the summit spread rapidly, igniting a wave of optimism. People celebrated not just the achievements of their leaders, but the realization that humanity wasn't alone. The Luminary hadn't come to judge or conquer. They had come to partner, offering tools and wisdom to help Earth navigate its challenges. Yet Emily knew the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth. Disagreements would arise, mistakes would happen, and doubts would resurface. But for the first time, humanity had allies beyond the stars, beings who believed in its potential and were willing to invest in its growth. Standing on her balcony one evening, Emily gazed upward at the alien ships still orbiting protectively around Earth. Their presence no longer inspired fear. Instead, it reminded her of the boundless possibilities waiting to be explored. Beneath her feet, the town of Willow Creek bustled with renewed energy, its residents embracing a future shaped by hope rather than dread. For Emily, the experience had changed everything. Once an ordinary librarian with a passion for astronomy, she now stood as a symbol of unity, a testament to what could be achieved when curiosity outweighed fear. As she looked toward the horizon, she whispered softly to herself, "This is only the beginning."